It's 6:50 p.m. on Friday, September 29th, 2023. Tomorrow's the last day of September. It's, oh gosh, 89, 90 degrees, something like that. Mr. Silly Bowl over there, let's see if we can see him. Where is he at? He's right at the bottom of the tree there. Mr. Silly Bowl is in the old row, and I tried to bring him back, but he didn't want none of that. So he's cut off from water right now. I imagine at some point he's going to cross the wire to go get some water, because he knows where the water is. And my cows, they will cross the wire to get water if they get really thirsty. So I'm kind of surprised that he got over there. I guess he went over there recently. Anyway, yeah, so I'm in the second cell of the fifth section. Second cell of 7, fifth section of 6 of this rotation. This place is pretty not good. It's not having a lot of good grass here. I think the cows are a bit agitated, they're a bit upset, they're hungry. There's some grass hiding in some places, but just not a lot of it. So yeah, this isn't the best part of my pasture. In fact, I dare say this is the worst. Fairly confidently, this is the worst part of my pasture. A couple of notes. So the rant that I did about science got flagged by YouTube. They put a little warning. If you follow the link, it takes you to the UN, talks about climate change. And I think at first I was kind of upset. You know, how dare they try to, change my message. But then I realized that they're desperate. They've lost. They've lost. It's over. The reason why I know they've lost is because they have to resort to tactics that defy all common sense. Right? If somebody wants to come and explain to me how global warming is supposed to work using physics, I'm more than ears. If somebody wants to come and explain why carbon dioxide is magic, I'm open to hearing that too. Thing is though, I've probably researched the subject more than you have. I know more about what your side says about climate change, global warming, global cooling, blah, 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 blah. Okay? I've known for a long time you're all a fraud. And yeah, you're getting called out. People are starting to figure out that there's no Indian in that teepee. There's no cattle behind that hat. You just have smoke and mirrors, right? The first step to do, if you think climate change is real, that we're actually having an effect on the atmosphere and the temperature of the globe, then step 1 would be to publish the raw data and then publish your massaging, your algorithms, your tricks, and be absolutely transparent about everything to the point where you allow other people to go in and examine your devices for how they measure stuff, right? I'm going to be somewhat cautious in saying this, but one of the things the U.S. government has done is they've set up temperature sensors, and I put temperature in air quotes, across the planet's surface. And these sensors are connected somehow to each other. And I once told my brother, I says, if I ever wanted to find a submarine, I would put these sensors out on the ocean, spaced at these intervals. Oh, look, they've already done that. So, yeah, we know what you're really doing. You're trying to justify this massive overreach of military power. The federal government was never supposed to have a standing army. It was supposed to be the people. When there's a war, you're supposed to call up the people who would leave their families and pick up arms and go fight for the nation. It was never, ever supposed to have a standing army. And the very idea of a standing military at the service of the government is so repugnant to the ideals of freedom. The idea that the government would have a military. The government should not be trusted to even carry sharp rocks. Government is the enemy of freedom. We've known that since a long time. The Second Amendment does not protect the right of the government to keep and bear arms. Keep that in mind. In fact, I would propose that we create an amendment that says the government is specifically forbidden from owning any weapons, carrying those weapons, or doing any such sort if the case arrives where they're like, gee, it sure would be nice if we had a bunch of guys with guns. Then they would have to organize the militia, get regular citizens to take up their arms in defense of not the state, but the people. They'd have to persuade us to do their beck and call, which is a hard sell. It's a really hard sell. We all know that the U.S. government has become tyrannical and has far exceeded the powers that were granted unto it. And we know that they're desperate because the whole charade is coming down, the whole charade. People are waking up to the fact that we're not ruled by righteous people at all. And they're calling on God to make things right. One of the first flags of the revolution was a pine tree with the words, "An appeal to heaven." And if I had such a flag, I would fly it proudly. The idea behind the flag is a phrase from John Locke's writings, where when the people find themselves in a situation where the government is infringing upon their rights and abusing their powers and going contrary to what is obviously right and moral, that the people should call upon God to give them strength to rise up against their masters and destroy them. That's why the revolutionaries enjoyed using that flag. Government exists at the beck and call of the people, not the other way around. And anybody who has a different idea than that, I invite them to come trespass on my property so I can dispatch the traitor among our midst. Ooh, such an idea that we should fear government. Causes my blood to boil. The other thing I wanted to talk about is something that I recently discovered. If you know anything about the Bible, you know that when Israel went into Canaan from Egypt after the 40 years in the wilderness, that Joshua and the people of Israel had a series of military successes against the people there. And God had commanded them to go in and wipe them out. And there's some debate about what God meant by wipe them out. But you have to wonder, what would cause God, the very embodiment of mercy and justice, the person in the universe who surrendered all to be born as a babe in a manger, and who put his life on the line as a sacrifice for the sin of mankind, right? Offered himself as the scapegoat. Why would he order his people to destroy an entire civilization? And lots of atheists say, oh, look, this shows how evil God is. This shows that God is arbitrary and he's not at all a good person. And the Bible's a terrible book, right? Because it tells people to commit genocide, right? And if you read in the text of the Bible, never once did any Israelite or anybody really say, you know what? I think that maybe God is wrong here, that maybe we shouldn't go and murder all these people, right? And in fact, there was a case where when Joshua and his friend, I forget his name, they went and they spied on the land, and they came back and told Israel about how wonderful the land was, that they had huge fruits and an abundance of everything, and that God had made a wonderful land for them, and all they had to go in was to go in and take it according to God's commands. But the other 10 spies, they gave a bad report and they said, oh, the people are too strong and we're too weak. They're going to kill us all. They weren't ever once saying that maybe God is wrong. They're saying we can't overcome these people. They're too powerful. Right? Anyway, so the moral reason, if you read in the Bible some more, the reason why God ordered Israel to kill the Canaanites was because of their religion. And even thinking about the things that they were doing, how do we explain the depths of their depravity? The one case that people go to is they would take their newborn children. They would heat up an idol made of brass and place that child on the altar. And we have multiple accounts, not just from the Bible, but from contemporary sources among the Greeks, that they would burn their babies alive. And the screaming babies' screams were drowned out by the beating of drums. They did this so that they can get crops and harvests. They thought that that's how you get wealthy, how you get food. And that's the one sin we can easily talk about. But there's many more. And unfortunately, I don't have to describe to you what the Canaanites are doing, because our society is doing all of the above. There's not one sin that they're committing that in the United States today we're not only committing, but we're glorifying and we're protecting. And anybody who says anything against these things is condemned and sent to prison and jail and tortured and punished for the crime of not wanting to hurt people. The Canaanites were never wiped out. The Israelites failed. In fact, the Israelites adopted the practices of the Canaanites. And so God destroyed the Israelites. He threw them out of their land. He scattered them. He said he couldn't do anything to save them anymore. The Israelites went abroad. We don't know exactly where they went. We just know they went everywhere. The tribe of Judah was more faithful to God than the tribes of Israel to the north. And they lasted a little longer. They were destroyed by Babylon because although with their mouth and their outward appearance they followed God, in secret they were worshiping the Canaanite gods. God called them out, and so he sent Babylon and destroyed Jerusalem finally, and took all of the nobility and the royalty, took them all captive and left behind everybody else. Now, when Persia became a thing, the Persian king was petitioned to allow the descendants of Judah to return to Jerusalem. And in reviewing the records and the prophecies of the people, he sent them back. And through lots of struggle, they were able to rebuild the temple a second time. And not long after that, according to the biblical timeline, we had Jesus that was born in Jerusalem, or near Jerusalem rather. And you must remember that those ancient cult practices were never stopped. Our government is consumed by those people. Our government actively pursues people who stand up to them in stopping these ritual practices. And they not only allow, but they support the wicked practices that God commanded the Israelites to destroy people over. So when they have to play their hand and exercise their power in the open, because they would much rather do it all secretly, behind the scenes where nobody's watching, through agents so that nobody knows who's really behind them. When they have to play those games, I laugh a little because it shows that they're losing. One by one, their nations are falling. One by one, people are embracing Christ. When I was a kid, I don't know how many nations refused to allow Christians to preach the gospel in their country. Today, I think there's probably 3. And even then, there's some naughty missionaries who don't follow the governments who are preaching the gospel anyway. And we're seeing success among those nations. The time isn't far now where not a single person on planet Earth will have an excuse anymore. The time is coming. It's coming faster than you think, and it can't come fast enough. I got a fence that has a grasshopper on it I need to fix. Anyway, that's what I think when I see messages about the UN and climate change below my videos. The jig is up. Truth is coming out. People's hearts are changing. Their minds are changing. They're turning back to Jesus and God. Anciently, everybody came from a pure religion. Oh, I found a stick. At one point, everybody was descended from Noah. And Noah taught his kids about God and Jesus. Noah was a prophet. He knew about these things. I don't know how you can survive the devastation of seeing your entire civilization being wiped out without knowing that at some future point a Savior would come. Noah, Abraham's fathers had gone astray, started embracing the wicked cults of human sacrifice and other things. Abraham was righteous. He sought after God, and for his faith, he was blessed to be the ancestor of Jesus Christ. Moses was another person. There was many prophets, and the message is always the same: come back, abandon the wicked ways and return to the true God, and be blessed. Right? Embrace the truth. I don't know what else to say on that topic. I don't know if I'll post this video. If I do, I don't know how long it'll last. It'll get flagged for probably being racist. I'll probably get labeled as some kind of Nazi. That's okay. I don't care about those titles anymore. You can call me what you want. Whatever you call me, it's going to become good. Yeah, I don't hear any more snapping. Oh, there's one. Sorry, Mr. Grasshopper. He was right here. I knocked him off. All right, guys. You have a great day. Take care of your families. Worry about what's important. Don't listen to the enemy. They've lost. They've lost a long time ago. Have a great day. Bye-bye.